All right, let's go ahead and chat about it so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page with these types of problems, and then get you started on your quiz. Make sure that we're all on the same page. Also, just to mention, since we're finishing this stuff up today and taking a quiz today, we won't have class Friday. I like the plan. All right. So the first one, if you see how to factor it, it factors nicely, right? I've got an x and an x that we can use. Since we need -4 and -3, I can use a -4 and a +1 to get what I need. And then set each piece equal to 0 and get -1 and 4. If you didn't see how, remember again, if you see how to factor it, factoring is quicker, right? You can get it done more quickly. But if you don't see how to factor it, don't spend all day trying to factor it. Use quadratic formula. You'll get the same answers. So you could have also used quadratic formula on that one. Let's look at the other ones, because the other ones are what's going to look like on your quiz. I just wanted to remind you about factoring. That's still a thing. Okay. But your quiz is going to look like these 4 problems here. All right. So we've got just a simple x squared equals -150. So again, using that square root method idea, we can take the square root of both sides. So we get, and then remember, every time that you take a square root of both sides of an equation, you always get what? A plus or minus, right? Every single time, right? Every time you do a square root of both sides, you always get plus or minus, so don't forget your plus or minus. We now see square root of -150. We should try to simplify those square roots if we can. In particular, if you have a negative under the radical, you should always take care of that first as an I, right? So I pop the I out first. That sounded bad. I pulled the I. That didn't sound good at all. All right, so we brought the I out of the radical, left it as radical 150. I broke down 150, factored 150, and I see a pair of 5s. So we can pull a 5 out and leave a 6 under. And so you get 5 on root 6. That looks like stuff we've done before, right? In number 3, we also have a perfect square. So if we see a perfect square, it's nice to use that square root method. I need to do one thing first, though. I need to get that perfect square by itself. So the first thing I did was divide both sides of the equation by 6. And then do the same exact thing we did in the previous problem. Take the square root of both sides. You get plus or minus square root of 18 on the right-hand side. We can break down 18. There's a pair of 3s, so we can do 3 root 2 for the square root of 18. The only thing that's different between number 3 and number 2 at the end is I've got this -4 on the left-hand side. Push it over to the right. Add 4 to both sides. Are those 2 okay with everybody? Yeah, that's all right. The last 2 both involve quadratic formula, so they're both almost the same. The only thing that's a little bit different in number 5, remember, it doesn't matter if you're factoring or using quadratic formula, you always have to set it to equal to 0 to be able to do either of them, okay? So in number 5, your first step should bring the 7 over. In order to be able to use either factoring or quadratic formula, you have to have 0 on one side. Now they're pretty much the same problem. Your A in the first one is 1. Your B is -4. Your C is 13. Opposite of -4 gives you 4. -4 quantity squared will give you 16. 4 times 13 is 52, so you get 16 minus 52 under the radical. And it's all over 2. 2 times 1, so there's the 2 there. 16 minus 52 gives you -36 under the radical. So again, handle the negative first, gives you the I, and then square root of 36 is 6. So at that point, we have 4 plus or minus 6i over 2. I'd like to simplify this if we can. We have a common factor of 2 in the 4 and the 6. So we can pull out a 2, and then it cancels with the 1 in the denominator. So the final answer we're left with is 2 plus or minus 3i at the very, very, very end. Is that process okay with everybody? Okay. What's that? Which negative? This one? Okay, so remember your quadratic formula is negative b. Yeah, so that's where it comes from. That's why it's there. Yeah, yeah. So the other one's almost identical. Get down to here, notice that when we do minus, a minus makes a plus sign, so we don't get that I in that one, right? That simplifies to 88 under the radical. We can break down 88, got a pair of 2's, left with 22, so that's where the 2 times square root of 22 comes from. And just like the previous one, you can factor out a 2 and then simplify a little bit at the end. Any questions on any of those? Okay. Ready for your quiz then? Okay. So again, we'll do quiz today. No class Friday. So have happy Thanksgiving. You're traveling safely, all that good stuff. Everybody but come back in one piece after break. Okay? All right. Just to give you a little bit of a preview of where we're headed for after break, Monday will basically be a review. I know we've got an entire week and a half off, right? So I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So Monday will basically review everything we've done since the last test. Okay? So that's simplifying complex numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing complex numbers, and solving quadratic equations. Wednesday and Friday, we have one more topic to do. It's called equations that are quadratic in form. It looks a lot like what we've just done in the last sections. Okay? That's the last section we're doing this semester. So Wednesday and Friday will be that section. Monday, we will review for the exam. That's on Wednesday. And then Friday we'll review, that following Friday we'll review for the final. Okay. So that's it. That's all we got left is one section is it. All right? So, anyway, I'll shut up now so you can get your quiz.